Fire swept the forest. Like hell's touch had crept into the world. The grass withered in the intense maelstrom of fire and ash. Trees were pylons of the same intensity. The blood of countless boiled beneath the fleet steps of the twin-tailed fox as he ran in primal terror of what happened to the Emerald Hills, once so beautiful. Bridges of all size banded metallic oppressors to survive. Alas, they too were consumed by the inferno. What in nine hells? What had caused this? Doesn't matter, he thought. He sprinted with every last ounce of energy he could muster, even in the acrid haze of burning life and intense heat, till he saw that same blue figure, the one he saw as his best friend, an older brother. He saw him, standing there in abject horror of the destruction. He thought, at least. It was swiftly a shattered illusion, and the hedgehog twisted in horrible, chilling ways, turning to face him with sunken, bleeding eyes, teeth bared to what would have been normally a friendly grin. Now, a grimace of blood and bone, twisted by force into a manic grin, only for the world itself to fade into a horrible darkness. One word creeping into the burning night.
Run!
The shock nailed him to the soil for only a moment, as the ruined body of the hedgehog took one short, forced step, with bloody tears choking out his only resistance. "Run, little buddy!" was all he needed, because when the world himself was burning around him, the hero himself, broken, wasn't going to stick around to find out what caused it. It took 1 second to move, 2 seconds to be pushing his upper limits, and 3 to be at his sight. 4 was all was needed for the blue hedgehog to be at his left, laughing like a maddened jester of a tormented mind. Barely a blink, there are illusions of him dancing through the blackened sky, each one the same horrid spiral of pain, mania. The fox turned on his heel, streaking back the way he came at a new, desperate pace. It was just as fruitless. It only took 2 seconds for the possessed hero to be at his front, standing with his arms outstretched, low to his sides, feet contacting at the tips of his shoes, with that same laugh. A new voice emanating from the body was all he needed to hear to realize Sonic was dead. The thing killed him.
What a rush! Did your friend here always feel like this? The rushing blood, the excitement. Was this it? No wonder he couldn't sit still. Oh well, now he and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Before he could blink, the fox stopped in place as this thing took slow, measured steps in an approach that felt excruciating. All that could be afterwards were agonizing screams as he was flayed alive. The echidna stood on the solid chromatic pipes and sheet metal constructions, contemplating why the fox hadn't picked up his numerous contact attempts, especially since that child had been so insistent on him taking one of those odd communication codes he'd made. His answer arrived in the form of a bloody doll, slung in his direction, made of the flesh and fur of his friend. Standing before him was the hero, twisted, broken, by an entity beyond comprehension. He knew it would be fruitless, but he never stopped by that before. He took a step forward, bringing up his fists. As he sprinted forward, releasing a blow that would normally shatter bone and rend flesh from sheer force. It struck open air. He twisted on his heel, throwing another, and only struck a solid steel scaffold. His hand throbbed in pain, even with the padding of his glove protecting his hand. It hurt. He'd probably care if not for the fact this wasn't the time. Another turn, another miss on his target. This one, embedding in a solid steel wall. Broken hand. Not good. He threw his offhand, with even more force to compensate. This time, striking gold. throwing the demon a solid distance, and he capitalized. He may have not have been fast, or as smart, or as witty, but he has always been the strongest. He sprinted forward with a righteous fury as the threat rose to his feet, roaring in rage, only for his hand to connect and shatter under the inhuman grip.
Oh, what a shame. You thought you had me on the rope stabbing to me. Sorry, buddy.
As the blue hedgehog's imitator blurred around him with a hideous cackle, he used a less damaged hand to throw furious, hateful blows. Each time he was met with a single remark on his side or his back.
Miss me. So close. Try again. This is a fun game. Do better off let it.
Each insult drove him further until pain roared through his body. The light of his eyes died with him. His heart was eaten. The genius behind the greatest armada, Ivan Robotnik, sat in his command desk, staring with a cold focus into the camera systems of his fleet. He always caught glances, barely hints, at this thing existing. He knew what it was. It had burned the Emerald Hills, crushed the metallic city that he so lovingly constructed for the native population. It wasn't Sonic, yet it was pretending to be. He finally caught it on the second ship. Forward starboard side. Badnik's remaining! Kill that damnable wretch that claims himself to be my arch-nemesis, and burn the body in my name! He grew silent. His only static had heeded his call. A single machine, his finest creation, Metal Sonic. Exited his personal bay, only to be met with destruction. The demon revealed itself, lazily tossing a spanner wrench between its hands and the eyes of his greatest asset between two fingers. A new solemn energy overtook the doctor. It wasn't fast enough. No machines were left. So he made a choice. He hoisted himself by the bootstraps with a glint in his eyes of pure, insatiable wrath. If you dare take my arch-nemesis, brandish his mutilated body as your puppet, and burn the world I commanded in the name of my empire, you are nothing but a parasite leeching from this world, and I don't intend to share my blood with something as insignificant as you. He took control of the final ship, the one both were contained within as the demon appeared behind him.
What are you gonna do? Egghead, you couldn't be the real thing. What makes you think you can beat me?
Still your goddamn tongue, you body-snatching pest! The ship lurched, throwing the puppet as the captain, the mastermind, Robotnik, set it into a death spiral, smiling as his boots magnetized him to the floor, with one final grin. Enjoy a world in which there's nothing to conquer. I'll hold the door for you in hell. It only took moments as the grand ship collided with Earth. The Mad Doctor grinned as the forces of gravity and physics worked to contain the evil with no room to escape. His own life snuffing like a candle in high wind. The demon screeching in rage as it was bound to its place, motion impossible, with the metal spikes that had become its tomb pinning to the earth. The world beyond burning in radioactive hellfire as nuclear armaments from the fleet rained in one final assurance. Nothing would survive. If the Doctor wasn't going to rule, nobody would. Especially not me.
Oh, what fun. That doctor really thought he could stop me. I just need to find a new vessel. But who? have to use the same one for now. Well, happy Halloween. Ready for